Thanks everyone very, very much for joining us for today's closing session. I'm very excited to have the Conventures team here that's going to walk us through how they really led the industry as they were one of the earliest races to go fully virtual. It's definitely one of the earliest larger races to do the show, to go fully virtual for the historic Boston Marathon Expo. And TK, I'd love to kick it off to you to introduce your team. So TK is make sure I get your title correct, the Director of Marketing and Communications for Conventures.
Yeah, that's me. Thanks a lot, Michael, and thanks for having us here today. We hope everyone's having a great day wherever you are in the world, tuning in, and we hope to provide a little bit of insight and color into what we do here in Boston and what we all do as event people now more broadly, virtually for audiences and folks around the world. My name is TK Skandarian. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications for Conventures. I'm on a stool in a back corner of our very empty office right now, and at some points I might sit on it, at some points I might stand. Being still is not a strength of mine, which is probably why I work in the events space. I will run you through just a quick couple of slides about who we are and what we do, and then introduce my awesome colleagues, Aric and Kathleen, who are standing by. Kathleen, give us a wave. Oh, okay, there you go. Aric, give us a wave. Good old virtual backdrop, nothing like it. Let's do a quick run through, if y'all don't mind, just of Conventures. Here's what we'll talk about today. These are some photos of the Boston Marathon Expo, but as outlined on this previous slide here, I mean, we do a bunch of different events, and I will just sprint you through it so fast, and then Kathleen and Aric will chime in as well. Again, this is myself. Again, I've been at Conventures for 2 years. Prior to being here, I was at the Boston Athletic Association and the Boston Marathon. I was there for 9 years, serving in a number of roles there, most recently at the end of my 9 years as the communications director. And the BAA and Conventures have worked together for many, many years. Here's a little bit about us. We are an event planning company here in Boston and New England, doing things from large to small, and using events as a marketing vehicle and marketing platform. We've done it all in the four plus decades we've been in business, from food to music to running to walks to indoors and outdoors. Here's our founder, Dusty Rhodes, who started the company in 1977. She remains very involved in what we do here. And is really a driving force and was an industry pioneer, I would say, in the event space here in Boston, in New England, and continues to be. Just again, a little bit of what we do, a lot of experiential stuff, helping to put brands in motion to help brands, companies, organizations flex their muscles, whether it's through a really good booth display at an expo or a trade show for a particular client, or a public celebration for 400,000 people. We certainly value the power of events. Some activations here that we've done, whether it's, again, small field marketing or large scale events, indoors, outdoors, all seasons. Look at these good old days here with people hanging around, not wearing masks, being good old joyful people. Boy, we can't wait to get back to those days. But until we do, we're certainly plowing ahead with groups like Event Hub. Again, just some photos here of some of the events that we've done. They run the gamut from launching a product to breaking ground on a new building, trade shows, you name it. Holiday parties here. Again, like big old empty ballroom before an event. Here's an expo we've done in the past. Here's an image of the Boston Marathon Expo from a few years ago with Dunkin' Donuts themed shoes. It's not too late for a donut, by the way. This might be Boston. Is this the Boston Marathon Expo, Kathleen, from maybe? Yeah, so we'll get into some of that. One of the things Conventures is best known for are massive tall ships festivals, bringing in international flotilla of enormous vessels and parading them through Boston Harbor. We've done that 4 or 5 times over the years, and hope to do it again in the next decade. But again, this is it. And I think that really one of the things that's most important to us all is teamwork. So as we rely with all of our partners, just as we did on this project, it's all about understanding and knowing the vision and goals of a client, in this case, the Boston Athletic Association, understanding the customer and client experience that we hope to achieve, which is something we'll get into. And we'll talk you through some of the mechanics. And Kathleen, it's now time to unmute yourself, because I'd like to introduce Kathleen Chrisom, who is our VP. Kathleen, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, TK. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Thank you to Event Hub for the invitation. So far, the presentations have been just terrific. Thank you, TK, for that awesome overview of Conventures. I've been with Conventures for 32 plus years. Yes, I started when I was 5. During that time, I have managed the Boston Marathon Expo. So I've been doing that for many, many years. As TK said, Dusty Rhodes started Conventures back in 1977, and she also started the Expo. It actually started, as few people know, as a tabletop at a local YMCA. Today, it's one of the largest, we feel, best marathon expos in the world. We have well over 100,000 square feet of exhibit space, 200 exhibitors, and over 100,000 attendees over 3 days. So it's quite an event. I hope many of you have had a chance to join us at the Boston Marathon Expo in the past. And with that, I will introduce you to my fellow virtual Expo teammate and colleague, who is the IT backend expert, who made it all happen with the Boston Marathon Virtual Expo, Aric Tao. Aric?
Thanks, Kathy. Hi, everyone. My name is Aric. I've been with Conventures for 12 years now. I do finance and IT. I started as an intern right out of college, worked all the events. What you don't see in the background of those photos are me slaving away, probably picking up trash or doing whatever it takes to make the event look great. And then that evolved into me getting involved with registration. And then as technology grew, building registration and taking it all the way from, originally paper registration in notebooks to, assigning bibs or table numbers on site, to being able to take a virtual registration system and marry it with a CRM. And now we're spearheading virtual events.
Of course, I'm on mute. Classic. Thank you, Aric, very much for that. I'll stop our share. And Kathleen, I'll kick it to you. You gave a little bit of an overview of the Expo, but please just take us back to pre-COVID times here. What is the Expo on race weekend? Just give us a quick flyby of what it looks like.
Sure. So the Boston Marathon is a widely anticipated annual event here in Boston for runners and spectators alike. I mean, we have all kinds of folks coming out to line the finish line on race day, to come to the Expo to kick off their Boston Marathon weekend. Traditionally, the Expo has been held at the Heinz Convention Center, which is literally just a block from the Boston Marathon finish line. The Expo, as I said, was always kickoff to the Boston Marathon weekend. You see a little time here of the Expo from one of the prior years. As you can see, it was always bustling with thousands of runners and attendees from all over the world coming in and out for the 3 days. Lot of spirit, excitement, energy, enthusiasm, as these runners came together really to get ready for the big day. A lot of camaraderie, just a really feel-good feeling of, hey, I'm in Boston, I made it, and I'm gonna shop and buy my products and find my way around.
Yeah, and that's it is quite the event, and certainly serves as a wonderful appetizer for Monday's entree. Aric, when we looked at finding a way to convert this thing virtually, we certainly wanted to preserve some of that feel, right?
Yeah, so our goal was to try to best replicate the in-person experience. And, we broke that down into a few categories, and Event Hub checked all those off for us. In the beginning, we were searching for platforms. We took a very pragmatic approach. We looked at all our events, looked at all the components, and came up with a pretty extensive checklist on what we needed, what we wanted, and we just started doing the research. We sat through a gazillion demos, and now our database is over 80. Our living database is over 80 platforms deep. But we really found Event Hub was the best suited for this type of event. It hit a lot on the B2C that we were looking at, because a lot of virtual event platforms are more geared towards trade show and networking. The retail component was super important to us. And we also were looking for a way for our vendors to also market. And also we wanted to figure out how we could put on events and main stage content.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the things that was important for us at the time, I mean, we went from the postponement of everything just right in March to an ultimate transition to a fully virtual event. Kathleen, at the traditional show, I mean, what are the things that are most important for our vendors and for race sponsors? Like, what are they looking for?
Well, they're really looking to meet the runners face to face. The runners are here. They want to touch and feel and try on and sample all the terrific products that all these exhibitors have to offer. A vast majority of the exhibitors are selling right there on site. Tremendous sales opportunity for them over the years. And part of moving it virtual was to try to still have that return on investment.
Yeah, I mean, preserving value was going to be was very, very important. But how did you help convince all these? I mean, a lot of sponsors and vendors, they don't see it. They're not gonna. What are you talking about, virtual expo? I've been coming to this thing since the dawn of time, and you're telling me now you're going to set up a website. Like, what the heck is this? How did you help convince these sponsors and vendors to attend? How did you sell it? This is the hardest selling job you've ever had to do.
I'll tell you right now, you hit that right on the head. It was not as easy as we thought. Back in March, when the marathon was postponed, we had to quickly think up of an alternative. It was rescheduled in late June, early July, moved to an entirely virtual experience. So the virtual world had hit everyone, well, mostly me because I'm old, hard and by surprise. So we had to transition very quickly to a virtual world. We knew we had to develop a virtual expo as an alternative to the in-person event. So the concept for the first ever virtual Marathon Expo was conceived. And as Michael said earlier this morning, we were the guinea pig. So we and knew that being the guinea pig and being the Boston Marathon, we had all the eyes of marathons, very prestigious marathons from around the world watching us. So we quickly assembled a team of experts within our Conventures team. And each team member, there were 6, 8, 10 of us at some point, brought their particular area of expertise to the table. With that, I mean, exhibitor relationships, sales, marketing, IT, social media, programming, content, and graphic design. We set the bar high for ourselves because, after all, this is the Boston Marathon. And they have a very high brand, high expectation. And we do as well with the Expo. So the stakes were high. Quite frankly, for many exhibitors, the concept of a virtual Expo was foreign, and not surprisingly so. We didn't have anything to say, here, this is what it looks like, or this is what's been done before. Naturally, at first, they didn't see how the transition could happen, and with such a tight window. Now we're talking the end of June, early July. So a lot of them said, there's not enough time. We can't pull this together. They weren't sure it was worth their time and energy. So our team at Conventures sprung into action. First, we developed an attractive marketing brochure, which gave them the look and feel of what we were attempting to develop, which you can see behind us as our backdrop here, created by our very talented graphic designers at Conventures, I might add. We also developed a very detailed user's guide and operations manual, so to speak, so that they could see what the process was, what they needed to do, and most importantly, a timeline of when they needed to get it done by. Then what we did is, sometimes we call it hand-to-hand combat in the event business, more nicely known as one-on-one. We reached out to each and every exhibitor, explained to them what the concept was, how we could be helpful, to guide them through the process, and we gave them best suggestions to make sure that they were going to maximize their sales revenue, because after all, at the end of the day, they're really here to sell product.
Yeah, and so then, how did this, you talk about the user guides and sort of that one-on-one hand holding, but was there, and that always will exist, right? Like in any sort of client environment, right? You want to take good care of your clients, walk them through it, assist them as they go with any troubleshooting. How did your customer service for our client service, how did that vary from the in-person event? More, less, what was it like?
Well, great question, TK. One would think that a virtual expo would take less time and effort, and less hand-holding for the exhibitors. Many who, even at the beginning, I thought, hey, throw up a virtual page and watch the dollars start tumbling in. Well, that was certainly not the case. In fact, it was quite the opposite. At the in-person event, these exhibitors are seasoned. This is what they do all year, all around the world, all year long. They order their booth structure, their electricity, arrange for shipping, products, staffing. They get to work on site. And most of the time, I have to admit, it's with little assistance needed from show management, because we were always very good at getting them in advance what they needed to do with exhibitor manuals and so forth. So we anticipated that with the virtual expo, there wouldn't be a lot of hand-holding, but it was, as I said, it was quite the opposite. It was much more hand-holding. We had to familiarize them with the virtual expo, how it would work, how to onboard their booth, what does a booth look like, how to manage shipping, because at an in-person expo, of course, you're buying and you're walking out the door. So shipping was a bit of a challenge, how to market their present so that they could maximize their page views, which eventually we hoped would result in sales. We went as far, and Aric and our graphics people were very helpful here, to mock up booths for them with their brand so they could actually see it and get a real feel for it. One example is a longtime exhibitor. I've been doing the Expo for 32 years, and he's been here before I got here. So longtime seasoned exhibitor. He just couldn't quite grasp the concept of a virtual expo. And quite frankly, he didn't see the value. He didn't know if his time and energy was worth it. So we walked him through it, and we basically said, hey, if you don't do anything, your product just sits in your warehouse. So why not? You have nothing to lose. So we got him excited about the virtual expo. We gave him some great ideas. He went and brought some younger family members on board. They went and shot a video, which he displayed his booth and his products, and off and running he went. And he ended up loving the virtual expo, and he ended up having hundreds of page views.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. I mean, you know, with us and with a lot of properties out there, you've got clients who are big and multinational and hundreds of people, and other clients perhaps who are in the dozens or less than that of people, and may rely on more traditional models. So I think while for some clients like the one you just cite, yeah, it's step by step all the way. And then for others, maybe it is more plug and play. But you know, to one of your earlier points about promotion, everyone can play a role, and we can get into this. Like every vendor, large or small, has an audience, has a base of customers, have folks who they communicate with new offerings, sales, discounts, new products, etc. And we view this gathering, this expo, this culmination of commerce and content and community as a wonderful precipice to which we should really be directing all people, whether you have a small company that sells handmade, you know, you name it, to something big like a multinational shoe company. So Kathleen, thank you for that example. That was good. Aric, when we determined that this was the right platform for like exhibitors, so we figured, okay, for companies, this will make sense. This will help give them an opportunity to push sales, build revenue, etc. We also had to think of something that was going to be good for attendees and the public at large, right? Tell us about what went into this thinking here.
So, you know, part of the search was, is this platform intuitive? You know, I've worked in registration for a long time. That's usually my job at events, and I've heard it all. You know, I'm your first line of defense. So if somebody comes in and is complaining that they didn't know where to go, or they couldn't figure out where the parking was, or anything like that, you're already off on the wrong foot. So when I approached it, you know, I looked at the team and I was like, is this confusing? You know, do I need to download an app? Do I have to register? Do I have to give my email address? What are the steps needed? You know, like to make this event successful, you know, like make it easy. We took it a few steps further. You know, we did the custom vanity URL, which made it super simple. The only thing people had to do was go to bostonmarathonexpo.com, and then they were in. You know, from an attendee standpoint, that's super simple, super easy. No app required, no avatar needed, no email required. And, you know, that's something that I really appreciated about Event Hub. The other part was the shopping experience. You know, the exhibitors who decided to utilize Shopify, the checkout process is super quick, especially if they have Apple Pay set up already. You know, you add your items to the cart, you go to checkout. If you have Apple Pay set up with the Shopify, then all you need to do is you can check out with your fingerprint or your face if you're on your phone, and then you're done. You know, it lends for a very easy, returnable experience. You know, it's frustration free is the way I'd like to say it. And that's the way, when we found it, you know, like we thought this was great.
Yeah, I would say from an event producer standpoint, making the jump into the world of e-commerce can be a little bit scary and daunting. Like we've not, you know, run massive, we're not an e-commerce company. We don't set up point of sale systems and work on customer retention and how that feeds into our CRM. I mean, we do some of this stuff, but to work, we learned a lot in a short period of time, and we're continuing to learn, by the way, as we look ahead. But I would say this, your point is so valid. Like, we don't want to have to tell people, yeah, you got to create a username and a password that you're never going to remember. And, design your Bitmoji. And while I think that there are some cool gamification things that can come in the future, the lower and fewer barriers to entry, the better. I mean, as someone who has run marathons and gone to expos, I think a streamlined experience is very important. I mean, we knew what we wanted to, as a consumer, what you want to see and feel when you go to an expo. You want to be entertained, you want to be excited, you want to be educated on certain things if you can be, and you certainly want to have a chance to buy some cool stuff. And knowing that those were some of the core tenets, we sought to recreate those. In my familiarity and our familiarity in working with the BAA for many, many years, we knew that there were a certain level of brand standards, look, feel, and experience that we wanted our client to be happy with. So it was very important from us at that point to engender good client buy-in and comfort with us as as an extension of your team at the BAA. We're going to be running this event to your standards. Just one example there is they, the Boston Marathon seeks to have an environment that is accessible to visually impaired and hearing impaired individuals. And we've made great strides to make all of the videos that we aired, have them be closed captioned, to have as much of our, and the Event Hub team really jumped in here to make as much of the platform accessible as possible. And there's so many nuances with the build of a site and the flow of the information and the user experience to help do that. And so I do want to give a shout out for Event Hub for really helping to put some of those things together as we got closer to game day. So we've been at it for 26 minutes and still have some time to go, but certainly some topics to cover as well. One of the things that we did on our team was we managed a lot of the CSS, and this is where I get over my head. Aric, maybe you could jump in, but like Event Hub gives us a template, and then our team, we let Aaron on our team really tinker with look, feel, colors, so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, so there's a custom URL portal, and it's not for the average user, but that customization availability really took our event from here's something that is kind of out of the box, white label, to the next level of this looks super customized.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah. Good. Thank you.
If I may chime in on this one, I just have to say that is such a key thing, because Aaron, their designer, was able to really make it their own feel, their own look, really unique and special experience, and able to tweak things so that it replicated the feel and look that their audience is already used to seeing on their main websites.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Michael. And what's so weird is I'm just even noticing it now. Like I've got this stupid backdrop, not stupid, but like I just threw up a couple signs. I mean, these are signs that we used at last year's show. And when I look at your backdrop, Aric and Kathleen, I mean, all of our materials, they did achieve a certain aesthetic of consistency, which I think is important. Yes, to the client, yes, to us, but certainly for the consumer to understand that they're now at this virtual official world that may look and feel somewhat familiar and certainly official, and as if they're in the right place. As we go into this e-commerce world, we know that we're up against some giants. Like, I mean, there's who's to say that anything we're going to create on our event page is anything better than what Amazon can do or what a company could do natively on their own website. We needed to. One of the things that makes an expo and an event so special is, of course, the connection and the seeing of other people and hearing from other people. And it was for that reason that we found the social widget integration on Event Hub to be important and something we'd like to continue in the future. Not just, we had two portals pulled up, one for BAA Twitter, and then one for Conventures Twitter. And what we basically kept doing for the course of 12 days that we ran our expo was finding usages of a particular hashtag and retweeting just to get that community active and always refreshed at the top with new and cool stuff. So I know there's more automated ways to do that, but it certainly kept us on our toes. And Kathleen, to your point earlier, I mean, yeah, this was a 3-day expo that went from 9 to 6 over the course of 3 days. And it brought in dozens of thousands of people, over 100,000 people who come in and have a wonderful time, and they take great pictures, and they move a lot of commerce and a wonderful sense of community. But now we were able to open it up 24/7 over the course of 12 days and open it up to people around the world. I think we had visitors from 130 countries check out the expo, which wasn't bad. Now that, you know, if our retailers then have to ship products to 130 countries, that opens up another nuance for them. But I'd file additional sales under a good problem to have for a lot of companies out there as they're building and creating new revenue. But I just wanted to get back to an earlier point of like how we can create something different, and the way we really looked at that was our programming. One thing we liked about the Event Hub platform was the video that could appear on the main stage at the top, what we called the main stage. I don't know if we came up with that or if you guys did, Michael, but the video that basically populates the top of the screen. And we've run something for many, many years called the Runner Seminar Series. It's 2 days, it's back-to-back 55-minute talks filled with runners and questions and energy and education and race legends talking about this and coaches talking about that and nutritionists talking about all these different things to eat, try, and it is informative and inspiring and very educational. We sought to replicate that as best we could using the video functionality that Event Hub created and provided for us. And so we did a lot of homework on what might be a particular, how do we want to lay this out? We basically worked on becoming our own news station. And what we did is we built out a content schedule that was 9 to 5 over the course of basically 12 days. And I'll just kind of zip through some of this. This is just an interview I did with Catherine Switzer. So here's someone who normally would speak at our seminar, draws a nice crowd, has a wonderful story, is a great speaker, and someone who wanted to continue her engagement in a virtual format. So this is through Zoom. This is nothing special. I'm in this room with this backdrop, which we seek to improve in future years, but based on short notice, we whipped it up. And we had a little chat about
and then suddenly,
this, that, or
the other day.
we talked about a few things. We scheduled her. We talked to her about what some of the things we're going to cover, and basically ran through a Zoom conversation where she hit on some number of different topics. And what we did is we built 60-minute blocks, and we uploaded them through a streaming service. And so everything played at the time it was supposed to play, and everything had a little live icon on it as if it was live, because it was streaming live, though it was already pre-recorded stuff. Did we know how to do a lot of this a year ago? We did not. Do we know how to do it now? Yes, we do. So here's, Catherine, she goes through the whole thing about the incident in 1967, where where she's sort of accosted by the former race director. And let's say, a conversation might have been 52 minutes, but where we also really needed to do some work is to complete a 60-minute segment. So, there's not a ton of editing involved with a 43-minute conversation. It's really more of a podcast format than anything. And what we didn't want to create is really compelling video that you had to watch. We wanted to create something that you could watch and listen to while you shopped. So we have all of our vendor booths down below the main stage. We don't want you to just sit up there and watch it the whole time. We want you to shop around. And what we liked about Event Hub is that the video will follow you down the screen as you shop. Now, when you go into a booth, like to do shopping, the video goes away because those vendors have the ability to be running their own content, number one, or you can speak to a professional in the booth, and you should shop. So focus on what you want to buy, and once you get to that point, we liked it. But one of the things here, if you can see that, we just had to fill out this 60-minute segment. We created just a graphical, and I'll just fast forward it here. Here's some teaser of just what's coming up next that day. I mean, all of these had to be custom built for every hour because every show was different. But then we take sponsors and exhibitors and take their advertisements and run them. And boy, I got really tired of watching all these commercials over and over again. But we had a nice array of maybe 20 different companies that submitted an ad. Again, some of these are nicely produced that might have additional applications for these companies and other medium, whether it's digital or in broadcast, but they certainly worked for us. We put together a couple 2-minute or 90-second ad blocks. And then when that was finished, we had, let's just go through this one. So here's a nice 60-minute segment that Tata Consultancy Services did for the Boston Marathon. This is something that would normally play at the Expo, but it's just a cool Google Earth kind of representation of the race course. It's got exciting music, it's catchy, and we threw it in to the mix a couple times every day. But we still had to get to a full 60 minutes. And one of the things that we did was we went to I actually went out on the race course and just shot a bunch of footage, and I'll share one more video with you here. This came in from one of the exhibitors On Running. On produced a 30-minute segment on their own with one of their coaches, Dathan Ritzenheim. This particular version that you're looking at now did not have closed captioning on it at the time. The version that got uploaded did.
Yeah, from experience, that's pretty much true. Whatever happens in the first 20 miles,
fitness, apparel,
it really doesn't matter. It's the last 10.
Regimen. He's an Olympian, incredible voice. Again, it was about 30 minutes with some other stuff worked in. And then it gave us 30 minutes we had to fill. So, this is just something that I went out and shot one morning in the race course, just to try to give runners a little bit of nostalgia who had been on the course before, and to show them what it might look like in September, a time of year when they might not otherwise see it. So this took 4 hours to drive, shoot, record, et cetera, but it provided enough fluff to just fill us and get us to a solid 59 minutes. Here's a message from Tom Grilk, the CEO of the BAA, that plays, welcoming people
to the world this September. The Boston Marathon Virtual Expo will be your place for shopping, discussions with race champions, and running stars. So,
as you can see, we just sort of patched a lot of this together from Zoom, from self-shot stuff, from whatever. But it took weeks of work to accrue it all, schedule it, promote it. And as it happens, one of the local TV stations here in town ended up using some of that content for their nightly coverage of the race. So that was cool, but a lot of work. Now, what we don't know is how many people who came and watched shopped. We know that we streamed hours and hours and hours of content, and we know that we had, cumulatively millions of, not millions, but hundreds of thousands of minutes watched and consumed by people around the world. But we don't have the metrics yet on understanding, like, okay, well, if someone goes and watches, just like in the real world, if someone goes into the seminar room and watches the seminar, we don't have a little tracker on them to know when they came in and then where they, who they purchased stuff from. So there's still some work to be done, I think, on our front there. The last thing that I'll say is just the promotional plan on all of this is important. We ran our own social media campaigns throughout the course of the 12 days, talking about what programming was coming up next and why it was important to watch it and check it out. The Boston Marathon was very supportive with many tweets and posts on Instagram talking about what we had going on at the Expo. But where I think we really haven't unlocked it yet is we want the vendors who come to the show and the speakers who are speaking at the show to promote and talk about what they're doing. It all, the rising tide will lift all of the boats. The more people who can listen to the speakers, the better. The more people who can come and peruse the exhibitors and potentially shop, the better. And the eternal conundrum exists of we want our sponsors and vendors to be engaged, to be active, and to make a really awesome and compelling booth. We know that takes time in the real world and resources in the real world. We know it takes time and resources in the virtual world. To put together a 30-minute video is not a simple feat for On Running, but we would certainly recommend that all companies come up with different types of ideas or video content or things that can not only invite people to come into their booth, but to return to their booth. And that was really the thinking of having this main stage content stream was that folks can come to the show and then come back to it. This programming was not available on demand. It is we did make a YouTube playlist. There's a Conventures channel, and we have a YouTube playlist with a lot of that video content available if you want to watch it. But we're not going to tell everyone that you can watch this stuff on demand when you're sitting at home after you've watched every episode on Netflix. You got to be at the expo. You got to be there at 10 o'clock to hear Kathleen Switzer speak. And you got to come back. It's going to re-air Wednesday night at 7 p.m. So mark your time and come back to the show in case you missed it. And don't forget to shop. And this was just one part of the Boston Marathon virtual experience. This was they had a runners only app. They had a nightly show on WBZ here in Boston called Boston Marathon Live, and a whole bunch of a race package that they shipped to all of the participants. And the expo is just one piece of it. We're fortunate and thankful to be entrusted with delivering it for them year after year. And we were thankful that we were able to find a partner in Event Hub to help us make our vision come true. And boy, oh boy, we're certainly appreciative of Aric and Kathleen, Aaron, Austin, our whole team to really rise to the occasion. It was a very busy August here as we prepared for this, but we knew we had to hit it out of the park on our first pitch. And I don't know if it went out of the park, but we certainly put a good swing on it. So Aric, how's that for baseball? I know Aric, you were waiting for a baseball reference the whole time. Was that okay?
Home run.
Home run? All right, Kathleen, was that? I didn't make you wait too long, Kathleen, did I?
That was way out of the park. You hit it way out.
It's 4:12 in the East. That leaves us 18 minutes to go. And Michael, we'd be happy to answer any questions. Kathleen, I'm sure I missed something. Kathleen, did I miss anything there that you wanted to just touch up on before we throw it to Q&A?
I think that it was our first year. The BAA was happy with what we did. We think we did a good job. Sometimes, you can't see the forest through the trees. However, we think we pretty much hit the nail on the head in the components that we wanted to feature, and the accessibility for non-technical people to make it easy to, get on the site and look around and shop and come back and watch the main stage that TK worked so hard at. And are there things we could do better? Yes, without doubt, without question. And we're working on those for future years. I think part of our investment, time and money wise here, was because this isn't, we don't feel this is a one-time thing. This is something, even when we hope the world goes back to in-person events, there may still be some element of folks who just aren't comfortable, and that's okay. So could it be a hybrid event down the road? We don't know, but we certainly think that this was definitely worth the time and energy. And we're so happy to have partnered with Event Hub, as Aric said, and this is not my area of expertise whatsoever. I know I met Michael at the Running USA event in Las Vegas in February, right before everything turned upside down. So I like to think of that as divine intervention. Michael, we certainly made a good friend in you in Event Hub, and we really feel like together we plowed this new trail. So I hope what we have shared today and what we have learned will help some of the other marathon expos that are out there. You know, we have friends with New York and Paul Bracke with Chicago, and we know they've worked with you, Michael, and we highly recommended you, and we look forward to many happy years together.
Thanks very much. Thanks, TK, Kathleen, and Aric. I just want to say that when they say partners, it really is, it was a true partnership. TK mentioned the ADA, and they were able to put us with an expert that's on BAA staff that specializes in ADA compliance, that we were able to make the site screen reader friendly and things of that nature to allow people to have ADA accessibility. And that was really important for them and a lot of folks with communities where that is the need of their audience. And in terms of what they did, so they really were the first of the major races to do all of their programming. And just, I get to quickly summarize what they just walked through in fantastic detail is that the reason they were so successful is that they had all their ducks in a row. They had their production plan well thought through and laid out. And what they did was empower, if you notice from the talk, they empowered their team members to specialize in their various areas. TK specialized in project aspects, Aaron specialized in the design, and Aric was empowered to specialize in the sales and account management as well. And that just really allowed them to be really successful of having everyone bought in on their team and invested in and moving in the same direction to make one unified, awesome project. So it was a fantastic thing. We've been able to use an example of how to do it right, really, in all of our programming and training and talking with other customers. Certainly appreciate the kind words, but it definitely, the platform is just the tool. You're the artist with it that makes it what you will, if that makes sense to folks. So let me just check real quick. I know we have a bunch of folks. They're a little shy and newer to the live chat functionality, but in terms of that and in closing, I just want to, again, thank everyone so much, all of our speakers, all who donated and volunteered all of their time, all of the vendors who volunteered their time to help set up virtual booths. What's really nice is that we're using this summit as a kickoff. So the idea is that will be a year-round marketplace resource for event organizers. We're going to remove the ticketed access in the next week or so. We're going to put up all the recordings to be able to be available for replay for everyone to check out the content throughout the year. But the idea is that we just want to have a really great resource center so that people have tools available to them to be their own artists for their own events and their audiences as 2020 comes around. And we're looking at doing hybrid, we're looking at doing virtual programming to enhance events, and we're looking at doing live events. So we hope to help be a community resource for everyone in that regard. And certainly having great partners that give us awesome feedback that we can then put right back into the product and everything we're trying to do helps us as a software company for the industry as well. Any final thoughts? Let me just check our questions one more. So we have a question. How did your exhibitors create an experience for the people visiting their booths? So what were some great tips as to the best produced booths from some of your exhibitors? And then what was the feedback from those exhibitors who did it right in terms of their response from a sales standpoint or a lead gen standpoint?
Well, I'll go ahead and answer the more general question. Aric can speak to some of the specifics on technicalities and what we call the back end. But we encouraged our exhibitors to make their booths as interactive as possible. You know, don't just throw up 6 products and say, click here and then check out. So we really encouraged them that they could make their booths as engaging as they wanted, and that they should, because we wanted people to feel like it wasn't just kind of a flat page. We also highly encouraged them to reach out to their universes, right? So exhibitors have their own followers, they have their own social media. We did, of course, our best in conjunction with our fantastic partner, the Boston Athletic Association, to get the word out, right, on the Expo. Even though there were other virtual events to participate in, we wanted to have as much success as possible for our exhibitors. So We market it, as TK talked about, social media and some of the ad buys that we did. But we also really try to engage the exhibitors that you can be in charge of your own fate here too. So make this creative, make this fun, have, you know, hey, Tuesday, it's 20% off, or whatever the, you know, treasure hunt kind of fun things that make people want to come back to the booth, not just to shop once or go on for an hour. So we really try to get them on board with that concept, that don't just think because they threw up a page, now they're going to sit back and just check the sales sticker. We needed their help as much as they needed ours. And I think some were more successful at it than others. It was a learning curve for everybody. There's no question. It was for us as well, as I've said. I think there were lessons learned. I think some exhibitors definitely gave us the feedback that, gee, you were right. We wish we had put a little bit more effort into it. We certainly will for next year. And others who were super engaging had page views off the charts. So I don't want to say you get what you put in. That sounds a little crass. It really wasn't that. It was just, it was new for everybody. And I think that exhibitors understood that. I think that, I mean, most of them, if not all of them, were very happy with it. We don't have a way to gauge their sales, but as anybody on this program right now knows, if you're in the expo business, oftentimes you don't know if exhibitors are happy, but you know when they're unhappy, right? So we feel that it was very successful and that we can only do better. And Aric knows some more specifics if he wants to answer on what some specific exhibitors did to really make their pages engaging.
I'm actually going to be contrary to Kathleen, and I'm going to say that there was definitely an ROI based on the investment that exhibitors decided to put in. And, you know, we tried, you know, to tell people like, hey, you're only going to get what you put into this. You know, what's the difference between shopping on Amazon where I don't have to pay shipping or buying at the Expo? So that's why it's like, all right, you need to really come up with solutions here. We're going to bring the people to you, but what's going to make them actually buy something when they can just get it from Amazon? So, you know, that's why I'm saying, like, you know, we really encouraged the exhibitors to really try to make it different. You know, run promotions, give away coupons, you know, run in-booth events, figure out how to engage your existing email, social media following. You know, we'll bring the other people. Some of the, you know, some people got creative with it. One of the booths that we really loved was the augmented reality Snapchat filter. You know, that type of stuff, you know, people talk about that. So one exhibitor had a Snapchat QR code on their page. For those of you who don't use Snapchat, it's a picture chatting platform, and you know, you scan it with your QR code and it brought you into a virtual showroom where if you pointed the camera down at your feet, it would actually put the shoes on your feet. You know, that stuff is pretty cool. You know, other people, you know, they came up with, you know, giveaway promotions, get your email here, get a coupon. You know, some people wanted to get their own event, like some exhibitors want their own athletes and their own things to do in their booths. With the way the platform is being developed, that's going to be so much better. And, you know, just to echo it again, the exhibitors are going to get what they get out of it or what they put into it. And going through it this time, I would say that don't underestimate that. It definitely, you know, like Michael had said, you know, Event Hub's the canvas and we're the painters, but you know, if the exhibitors don't have good booths, then if the booths are boring, then they're not going to go in. So
it was actually better than I said it, but well said. Yeah, that's a great way to say it. There's an old data thing called garbage in, garbage out, but the same is true, especially with virtual booths, is effort in, effort out. You know, effort in equals ROI, because No one's forcing, like you don't have your salesperson that's able to just kind of like grab people from the hall and yank them into the booth when they're walking by this time. It's okay, we have to make it an attractive offering so that it's inbound, right? You're driving people's behavior into the booth. You're not poaching them from a crowd walking by. So it's a little bit different in that you spend more time on the setup and production than you would where you just usually rely on your salespeople. Once they're in, though, your salespeople can totally close and do a phenomenal job of that.
Well,
But
I know.
Aric, yeah,
I think the 24/7 thing can be intimidating to sponsors too, because they're like, well, I'm not going to staff my retail floor team for 24/7. It's like, no. Let's create some store hours, some show hours that are basic and make sense based on the time zone that we're in, and promote them as such. But then let's also, if you're a booth, like also create some pinnacle moments throughout that 8-hour span or 6-hour span where celebrity A or nutritionist B is going to come in your booth and, okay, maybe not sign autographs, but maybe give you a well wish or talk to you for 15 seconds or 20 seconds or engage some of that personal one-on-one thing. And companies are creative and they got a lot of smart people and they can do and build those things, which frankly is cheaper than setting up a shoe wall in an expo hall.
Let me cut in here. So one thing that was great about Event Hub throughout the whole build out process was you can actually see the progress of exhibitors. You know, we came up with our timeline, our deadlines, you know, making sure that the exhibitors hit it. And you can see when people are not putting the effort in. So like, you know, our product, I like to think that it was polished as much as possible from top all the way down. And that's because we spent the time and put in the effort to really look at people's booths and make sure that it was up to our standard too. So that's what I'm saying. You get what you put in and don't just upload some pictures and call it a day.
One quick note on ROI is that because there's a virtual storefront and there's contact forms built right in, you can often get better ROI from CTAs that are lead gen versus there's delay at a show, right? Where it's a 24 to 48 hour period potentially till those get uploaded to Central and then developed through the system and sent out. So like email capture, things like that. Whereas you could potentially be building CPAs and redirects right in the booth that get them right into your sales funnel and convert as customers. So for certain folks looking for those, it can be even better, right?
Yeah, one of the things that I also loved about Shopify integration was that you didn't have to create another username on another website. So like if you're getting led off to another vendor's website, you know, you have to create a new username, login, find the products you want, check out. Now you have another username and password that you're not going to remember. And so that's one of the things that we also love about Event Hub.
Yeah, the Shopify for purchasing directly in the booth too. That's a great point. Any final thoughts here? We have about 3 minutes left. I want to keep this nice on schedule. So final thoughts from you and then we'll wrap it.
No, from us, no. Thanks again for having us. And thanks to everybody for tuning in, and Kathleen and Aric for your continued good work. We're available to chat or consult with anybody if they have questions about making their expo happen. These things are scary and new, especially as the months turn into weeks and events draw closer. We're available to help out as needed.
I should mention as well that we do have on a case-by-case basis the opportunity to potentially lend some of Conventures CSS custom design resources for certain events. So we've worked that out with them to have that available for customers as a resource. So definitely let us know and visit Conventures virtual booth in the Expo, which again will remain published today, and then will be the ticketed access will be ungated so that it's open access for all going forward as well. Thanks again so much, everybody. Really appreciate everyone's time and contributions and participation. We look forward to doing more programming like this in the future. Definitely send us your feedback on what types of other content and programming you'd like to see so we can continue to make this as valuable as possible for the community. Thanks very much.